Hello, I'm Philip Sneller. Welcome to Window on the Word. Today, let's listen together to Matthew chapter 14. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report of Jesus, and he said to all his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He has been raised from the dead, and because of this, miraculous powers are at work in him." For Herod had arrested John and bound him and put him in prison because of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife. For John said to him, "It is not permitted for you to have her." And while wishing to kill him, he was afraid of the crowd, because they were looking upon him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday celebration came, the daughter of Herodias danced in their midst and pleased Herod. Therefore he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. And having been prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me here, on a platter, the head of John the Baptist." And the king was distressed. But because of the oaths and those reclining at table with him, he commanded it to be given, and having sent, he beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought on a platter, and it was given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. And when his disciples came, they took away the corpse and buried it. And they went and reported to Jesus. And when Jesus heard, he withdrew from there in a boat to a desolate place by himself. And when the crowds heard, they followed him on foot from the cities. And when he got out of the boat, he saw a large crowd, and he felt sympathy for them, and he healed their sick. And when evening came, the disciples came to him, saying, "This is an isolated place, and the hour is already past. Send the crowds away, so that they might go into the villages and buy food for themselves." But Jesus said to them, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "We have nothing here except 5 loaves and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." And after commanding the crowds to sit down on the grass, he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they picked up of the broken pieces left over 12 full baskets. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. And immediately he compelled the disciples to get into the boat to go ahead of him to the other side, until he might dismiss the crowds. And after he dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And when evening came, he was there alone. But the boat, already a great distance from the land, was being beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the 4th watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, saying, "It is a ghost!" And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Be cheerful, it is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And he said, "Come." And after he got out of the boat, Peter walked on the water and came toward Jesus. But seeing the strong wind, he was afraid. And when he began to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me!" Immediately Jesus extended his hand to grasp him and said to him, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind stopped. And those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." And when they had crossed over, they came to the land at Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent into that whole region and brought to him all who were sick, and they were imploring him that they might only touch the hem of his garment. And as many as touched it were healed. Thank you for listening. To God be the glory.